Hello, and welcome to the Old Man Orange podcast. I'm Spencer Scott Holmes.
And I'm Dave Candido.
And we're coming at you with 1993's Oliver Stone's Heaven and Earth. The movie that I kept referring to as Heaven and Hell for like a couple episodes, that's almost what the story seems like, though, when you watch it. Because this lady, in order to, in a sense, reach heaven, she has to go through hell. And that makes it sound like some kind of Christian movie when I say it like that. But it's not. Instead, it's Oliver Stone's third movie in the Vietnam trilogy, even though he says it's not really a trilogy, it's just 3 movies about Vietnam. But, whatever. The Vietnam trilogy. But this time, we're looking at it from the Vietnamese side, and especially from kind of like the peasant, side that gets the most affected by all this stuff. These multiple wars that come just blaring through Vietnam over like a 20-year period.
I was thinking about this today. I was not the similarities and differences between the two is what I almost said, but between all 3 films, Platoon, Born on the 4th of July, and then Heaven and Earth, and I really like how different they all are. They all are movies that you can tell, yes, this is an Oliver Stone film. All 3 very different from Natural Born Killers.
Which comes next after Heaven and Earth.
Yeah.
Because Oliver Stone said that, he needed to change it up after that one.
I guess, man, I'd be probably in a pit of depression at that point.
Well, it's a kind of a double whammy, because this is kind of the bummer. I listened to the Oliver Stone audio commentary when I was walking around at work. And I didn't realize this because I just saw this movie as later days, watched it on that Oliver Stone collection. But this movie didn't do very good at the box office, and it kind of took a real toll to Oliver Stone. The movie was made for $33 million. It only made $5.9 million.
Holy crap! That was a bomb.
Yeah, so it really got affected. Now, granted, it came out in 1993, which is a huge year for movies. And I was looking at the box office on it. These are some of the movies it was going against. So you can kind of see why it was kind of one of a tough sell. Okay, so 1, you got Mrs. Doubtfire out in theaters. One of Ron Williams' biggest ones. Not only that, it came out.
You want to go be depressed for a couple hours, or would you rather laugh and go home happy?
Yeah, and see Pierce Brosnan with his shirt off. We all win. So, but then here's this. Okay. And that movie's been out for, I think, about a couple weeks. Not much, just a couple weeks. The other big one that you have coming out the same day as Heaven and Earth is Tombstone.
Oh.
Which is one of the most legendary Westerns of all time.
Not only is that, I was literally just talking to my wife about that movie the other night. I'm flipping through films, and I'm like, you ever seen Tombstone? She's like, no. I'm like, that's probably my favorite Western, and it's one of my favorite movies in general.
It's just so good.
Yeah, an all-star cast.
Yep. Val Kilmer, Kurt Russell, Sam Elliott, Michael Biehn,
poor
Billy Bob Thornton,
poor Oliver Stone.
Yeah. Well, this is the worst thing. That's just a couple of them. The other one is there was Grumpier Old Men, which was a real big comedy at that time period. Literally, Batman: Mask of the Phantasm. So if you want an animated movie, and Batman opened up higher than Heaven and Earth.
So, that's nuts.
And then this is another big one. Only 3 weeks prior, Schindler's List came out. So that was sort of the hard war drama that people were all talking about.
And I can imagine, I can imagine people going to see that, right? And they're like, I don't want to watch another, tear-jerking, sad movie for a while. That's another, Man,
well, I think that's it. Is that just stole the thunder? So right there, and it's that weird one that I know that for some reason there's always this thing that if a movie doesn't make money, in a lot of people's eyes, they make it feel like, oh, it wasn't a very good movie then. Like that has anything to do with it, the money aspect, But when you see all these things add up, and then I hate to sort of say it, but I always feel like Americans would probably look at this trailer and go, looks like I'm going to have to read some subtitles here. It looks kind of foreign to me.
Subtitles, or that's just not, I don't know how to say it, man. It's not as interesting to most people. most people are just interested in what's flashy and what's nice and colorful, and like all of that. Like it's kind of like, I think even people. Well, you look at people with the MCU. Even people that don't even like comics love watching those movies.
Yeah.
And yeah, it is what it is. But man, that's a total bummer.
Yep.
I didn't even look at how much that film made. But
I didn't question it until I was listening to that commentary, and then I had to kind of go, I'm like, oh, I guess it did, because I just saw this movie, I'm like, oh, I thought it was just this cool gem kind of like biopic type story of like the other side of Vietnam and everything like that, because it's literally based off the lady's book, like what's her name? I was gonna say Lei Lee. Yeah, Lei Lee. The actual lady wrote the 2 novels or whatever that chronicle the whole upbringing of her as a kid and having all the war stuff come through and all the things she had to go through and whatnot, and she overcame all that kind of stuff. And they also had these other things too, because Oliver Stone was talking about this, is that apparently in the New York Times they hired some like Vietnam lady from like the city to pretty much come in and try to say how bad it is that Oliver Stone was making a movie about the Vietnamese people and so on like that.
Yeah.
Like he's not he's not Vietnamese himself, so how would he know? Dude, the lady that wrote the book was there the entire time they were shooting it. And he would just be like, yo, does this look right? Does this seem like there? How would you put this? Like, so she practically was like a co-director. I don't know how much more Vietnam you can get.
Yeah. People are assholes. And
yeah, exactly. It was just funny because on the audio commentary, like Oliver Stone just goes off on it for like a bit. Like he was like so angry at this lady. He's like, this is my place to vent.
Yeah. I mean, I don't blame him. The movie's a freaking masterpiece. In fact, it's hard, like if you were to ask me, just like if you were to ask me right now, which one is your favorite films out of Oliver Stone's Vietnam trio, I would have said, I can't pick one. I think they're all really good. They have 3 different, like, 3 different perspectives, and they're just all really good and very different from each other. But then I thought, like, well, if you pulled out a gun and put it to my head and said, you need to choose, I think I would choose. I would probably choose Heaven and Earth. And it kind of, I was a little surprised by my reaction, like by just my, if you want to call it an epiphany or whatever, like, wow, this one I think might be my favorite. Because I love Platoon and I love Born on the 4th of July. And even those 2 movies are very different from each other. Platoon is, I think Platoon is the movie that is most likely, like, I think that's the one that would be least likely to surprise you by how the movie like plays out. The other 2 movies are very much like, I don't know, if you didn't know like what's going to be happening going into those movies, I think you'd be like, oh crap, this turned out to be really bad. Not that Platoon doesn't turn out to be really bad in more ways than one, but it's in the same environment the entire movie. They're in conflict the entire movie, armed conflict. Whereas the other 2 movies, we've already talked about. Born on the 4th of July, he's a freaking wounded veteran, crippled for life. And in this film, which is it's the perspective of a young Vietnamese woman who basically suffers every travesty that a person could go through during that time and in that place, and it continues even after she leaves Vietnam. Yeah, and I guess I have a little bit of bias here. So, like, my wife, of course, is an immigrant. She's not from Vietnam. She's not from Asia of any sort, but she's from Brazil, which is largely considered some people don't even say 3rd world country anymore. They say 2nd world or whatever. But it's not like people are rich out there. There are rich folks, sure, but it doesn't exactly have to do with how wealthy you are either. But it's a very different culture. And when Lei Lee came to the U.S., of course, later on in the film, she's walking through the grocery store with her husband, and she's just like looking at everything like, wow, like probably thinking like, where am I? Like, what planet am I on? And that's how it was with my wife when we went through when I took her to Walmart for the first time, and she's just like, she asked me, she said, are these like, it was either tomatoes or bell peppers, but she's like, these are fake, right? And I'm like, no, that's a real vegetable. She's like, they look perfect. And I'm telling her, well, that's because of pesticides.
Yeah, that's because they're drugged up.
But
those are roided vegetables right there.
Yeah, and by no means did she like live in a hut or something like that. You know what I mean? Like she lived in a normal house like anyone else. It's just the fact that it's different. It's a lot different, and there's so many different things that people, we can get into a discussion and be here all day talking about how people here take everything for granted, which a lot of people do. But it's just very it's very accurate. It's so accurate and so authentic. This movie is. I've never been to Vietnam, but I have been to a couple different third world countries that this film really reflects what you might see out there even today. And but yeah, so it's just very, even though I remember when I asked you, like, is this film pretty messed up? Like, cause and you're like, yeah, it's pretty brutal. I'm like, okay. And
as I said, they go in order. Like I feel like Platoon, Born on the 4th of July, and this one, it's like they get harder drama each time.
They do, and I'm like, okay, I'm just gonna brace myself for that. Not gonna be a little bitch. And my wife and I both watched it, and we both agreed. As hard as some of those scenes are to watch, like as rough as they might be, she said that she felt like they weren't exactly over the top. Like a lot of films can make things just like, okay, man, like we get it. You can go to the next scene. She's like, it's to the point, and it shows you exactly the depth of the situation. And we both agreed that this is the kind of film they need to show in schools. The whole thing, not the teacher like, okay, class, I'm going to fast forward this part, like, I don't know if you ever did that, but I did. Yeah,
they would pretty much just watch, like, you go, like, all the action scenes, like, okay, we're going to watch The Patriot. We're just going to watch some of these action scenes. Oh, it's a little bit violent here. Let me, I'll just skip past that. Okay, there we go. We'll keep going.
Yeah. But yeah, no, it's so impactful. Much like Born on the 4th of July and the other one as well. But I feel like this film has just a little bit more in common with Born on the 4th of July than Platoon. But that said, it's so good. But yeah, so all the stages of just hell that a person could go through before they reach heaven. Lei Lee, the titular character, well, not titular, the main character is this little girl from Vietnam, and she just happy kid, right? And happy teenager, and just going through her village Vietnamese life, and not only does she suffer from the French coming in, invading their village and beating everybody up, killing some people here and there, raping some people here and there.
Yeah, especially in that alternative intro that had, because there's a bunch of actually extended scenes, which is kind of interesting in this one. Yeah, and that one, there was an extended scene of the intro where the French had a lot more stuff in there, and they showed how kind of brutal they were, because they were the first ones to kind of come in and try to, really take over Vietnam and just come by and brutalize all the people with like no regard.
Yeah, pretty crazy. But I mean, what are you gonna do? It's history. Yeah. And yeah, they dealt with that, and then they dealt with the Viet Cong before they even dealt with the Americans. And coming in and recruiting. I mean, it's a recruitment, but it seemed more like you're going to come serve with us, or else we'll make you feel bad and then torture you. So
yeah, we'll come by with a flame tank like the French did and just burn down your house.
Yeah,
just like the asshole tank.
So her brother, the main character's brothers go and fight for the North, and then later on the Americans come in, and that's, of course, I love the old propaganda from the federal government back then, and then of course through the military, like, we're here to help you. We're gonna teach you about Jesus and teach you English.
Yeah, exactly. We'll give you all kinds of new technology. They talked about some of that stuff too. Is that a lot of these like what they would do, and this happened with everybody. The French did this, the Americans did this, even the North Vietnamese would do this too, where they would come to these like rural communities and then be like, "We're gonna go take you to a hamlet. We're gonna set you up with all kinds of modern stuff," and then be like 3 weeks later, they would like rip out the things they wanted and they'd go back to their village.
Yeah, exactly.
And it happened over and over. Like nobody could figure this out. Like, well, we set you up with all this cool modern stuff. They're like, nah, our rice paddies are over there. That's what we do. That's what we want. That's our ancestors are literally buried there because that's part of what we do is we bury them there, and then the rice, and it all works together in conjunction. You know, like they're like we got Uncle Ben's rice right here. Like you don't need anything else.
Yep. No, it's definitely. The culture shock is something crazy. And it reminds me of a church near where I guess I could say you and I both grew up, but more so me. I remember they would go down to Mexico. They'd take like the youth groups and stuff and go down to Mexico in the summers and go build people houses. But, you know, it was never just for free. They would make them go to church and shit, you know. And I'm like, what?
There was always a catch.
I'm like, if it's about that, why don't you just build them the fucking house and give them some food? Like, you know, if it's up to Jesus, you know, like I'm pretty sure he'll find a way for them to find out about him. But you know, it's neither here nor there. But yeah, they'd be talking about a couple people I knew that would go on those trips would be like, yeah, you know, we built these houses and stuff, and then last summer and then this summer when we went back, like, you know, the windows were broken out. They stole the stuff that you know, I like got their stuff stolen and this and that. And I'm like, maybe you should stop going down there. You know,
You're just making it worse,
man. And of course, you know, I guess that would be the very tippy tip of the iceberg when it comes to Vietnam.
Yeah. I noticed I watched all the deleted scenes that were on my DVD version I had, and there was a lot of these extended ones or just extra ones in there. And this comes kind of later in the movie though, but they were all about almost like the conflict of like Buddhism and Catholic, because later down the line, which we'll come to later, Tommy Lee Jones's character is a Catholic guy and his whole family thing, and they try to convert, you know, Lee Lei into it, or I just said her name backwards, I think, Lei Lee, into it, and they have a lot of these scenes where like she's really like going back and forth on it, and you could just probably see that maybe Oliver Stone, he said that he kind of cut those things out. He's like, you know what, I didn't want that much controversy. You know, you get everybody on your side. He's like, I don't need to have like the Catholic people coming after me too.
Yeah.
But you watch those scenes, and I'll say this, like, they're literally kind of hard to watch because you just watch how peer pressure they are and how like evil these like Catholic people look. Just like, dude, what are you doing telling this like Buddhist lady like what to do? Like, just let her be. Like, just shut the hell up and let her be.
It really is, man. Because it's, you know, half the time it's like it's always kind of blown my mind how much a person can think like, I'm doing good doing this, you know, like this is for you, this is a benefit to you. I'm doing this for you, but they don't think about the cultural impact, the I guess you say cultural stressors, or the conflict there, the not only the cultural conflict, but you're trying to change somebody's life that for most Christians, okay, I guess we could say for the sake of anybody watching who's like, how can you say most? For a lot of Christians,
a good majority.
It's Sunday. They're a Christian on Sunday, you know, and if that. And whereas a lot of these people, their religion is every day. It's not only every day, but it's a lot of times within everything they do, within the meals that they eat, the way that they work, the way that they dress, the entering and leaving a room, their house, whatever. I mean, it's their entire life. And to try to like tell somebody like, oh, you know, like you should consider moving to this religion, it's like, what? You know, it's almost like it's almost impossible. But yeah. It's very, like you said, I didn't even think about that. It's hard to watch, but it's just very I guess, like I said earlier, it's very authentic, and that's part of that. She left Vietnam, she left a war-torn country, but she still got battles to fight when she comes to the U.S. And I felt pretty bad for her.
Yeah, just when she thought she was out, they pull her back in. You know, so yeah, and that's that's the thing. It's like, so if you kind of go back to like before we even get to like the going over to that part, because that's just like the next half of the movie, but it's when she's in Vietnam and all the stuff she has to go through, there's a point where like she is even kind of like working for the Viet Cong, like when she's like a teenager and whatnot, sort of like an informant and whatnot, and kind of watching the trails and everything like that, until the point that she does get caught, and she gets like her and a couple of the other gals and whatnot literally get taken to like a torture camp where like they're just literally kind of there, and they're seeing that part where they're dropping the snakes in them and everything like that.
Oh, dude, yeah. So that was like, that was crazy. And the, I think about, once again, I can't help but think about my stint in the military and my one deployment in a place that was, I've said it before, not the worst, not the best, but there's dudes that'll talk all day long about how hard it was and they suffered and this and that. And then I think about these 3 teenage girls that are informants for the Viet Cong, and who's to say maybe one of them even was at all? We don't really know.
No,
but they're just farm girls, and the South Vietnamese bring them in, question them, beat the crap out of them. She's spitting blood and teeth, and and then she's just a trooper, man. She doesn't reveal anything. She doesn't admit anything. She just says, I'm just a farmer. That's it. And they got nothing out of her after beating the crap out of her. So, here I am thinking that they were going to release her. No, they go and tie her up to a pole, and they put honey on all their legs. And I'm thinking, like, what's this? And then, of course, so, goes to the next scene, and they've got ants all over their legs and legs and feet, just biting them all to hell. That had to have felt like crap. And then, of course, they drop the snakes down their shirts, and I'm just like, dude, that's so rough. That is so rough. And, I've seen scenes before. I think you've probably seen Zero Dark 30. And there's those torture scenes, the CIA torture scenes with the waterboarding and this and that. And you think like, hey, they're doing what they got to do to get the intel they need and this and that. And I look at this and I think about some of this other things. And I just think like, man, is torture really something that, is, I don't know. I guess all is fair in love and war, right? Like, we'll never know half the things that happen for war or for these conflicts, but it's just that was pretty crazy. I think the ants is what did it for me, even more so than the snakes.
Because I kind of wonder that too. It's like, okay, there's the snakes I think are just there to be kind of creepy, but there's those ants crawling on you and biting you the whole time, literally just like Charlie Sheen's character in Platoon, but instead these ones are getting like force fed to them. They're tied, they can't go anywhere and whatnot.
I just hate the feeling of bugs on me. I just don't like it, and I don't like being bit once by a fire ant. I can only imagine what being bit like 200 times on your legs because you got honey on them.
And you can't go anywhere,
Ugh, that's so rough.
That's it. See, that's the thing is I feel like because nowadays it seems like that they've come to the conclusion of like torture that they can do it with real simple tactics like turn a very bright light on and leave it on them the entire time and play real loud music. Guess what? They can't go to sleep after 3 days. They'll crack.
And so she her mother bribes her dowry to get her out of that jail. And while this is going on, their village is kind of being invaded back and forth between, it's like a regular occurrence at this point between U.S. forces and Viet Cong.
Yeah. And before that, the French,
exactly. And
they said something, I think, that like once the French left, I think it was 55, there was like a golden age in Vietnam for like a brief window, like maybe 7 or 8 years before the Americans showed back up. There was this period where it's like peace, prosperity, everybody was doing good and so on like that. Then the Americans show up and the North Vietnamese get really angry about it, and then it's just all bad again. Yeah.
And their particular village is just like, it's just like these people are just like, man, like, can you guys let up? Like if it's not the Americans at this point, it's their own people. The Viet Cong are coming by and and they're pissed all the time because they're like, are you talking to the Americans? Are you talking to the South? You know, like, and of course they're probably just like, just take whatever rice you want, you know, and the Viet Cong come back after she gets released, and first they kill the teacher that was teaching
they get pissed
English.
at that teacher. Yeah,
and
he was teaching them American stuff, and that was it, you know.
Oh yeah, kill that guy, and then they grab Lei Lee, and they don't believe that you know, she's innocent. They believe that she was. First you had the North Vietnamese, you know, interrogating her, saying she's a spy, and then now you have the Viet Cong interrogating her, saying you're a spy, and she's just stuck in the middle of everything. And they take her away, and I guess they kind of told everybody in their big kind of powwow, like, we're taking her away, we're killing her, she's a traitor, and instead of killing her, they rape her. Yeah. And it was at that moment too, right before they did that, they hold her over this hole that looks like a grave. And, you know, it's not really clear whether they were really going to do it or if it was just an intimidation tactic. But they say, like, you know, what if we were to kill you right now? And she's like, my life's in your hands. And it's so, once again, you know, I can think of a handful of dudes that were like the biggest, toughest, like, jerks you could think of, that, you know, they're just so tough. And I can't think of any of them that would have been just like that calm as she is displayed in this, and just kind of takes it, man. And not when they rape her, though. She's devastated, as you would expect. But and I think she wasn't expecting that. I think she was totally expecting to be killed. And she even says, like, I don't think they were even going to kill me at all. I don't know why they raped me, but whatever. And from there she leaves. And
the real lady in life, she said she has no idea what was really supposed to happen there. And to this day, she still has no idea. Well, that just happened. That was it. It's terrible. But, like, you know, they didn't kill her. You know, that's the one thing. And that's what it was supposed to be. So.
And so, yeah, from there, she just her and her mother and her sister left and went to Saigon. And she left because, like, she felt, I don't even know if it was just she felt, I'm pretty sure, like, probably pressure culturally from the members of the village were like, you've brought shame, you can't be here. Her dad, you know, like, you can't be here, you brought shame upon the family in the village. So, you know, she takes off and the mom and sister go with her. Her sister, it was kind of unclear to me if the sister was already out there. Before that, she's also got a real spiritual connection with her brothers, I guess, and mainly her younger brother, who is like her best friend. And she looks at him as like her best friend, her protector, just super happy guy. And she has a dream about him dying, getting thrown out of a helicopter from a U.S. helicopter. And that's part of something that they bring up a couple more times in the movie, is part of her religion. It's part of Buddhism and Hinduism, both. Just the idea of reincarnation and karma is brought up a lot in the film, and like the fact that she's continuing she's got a lot of bad karma and she keeps living through this shit to make up for it. And after this horrible dream of him dying, they called a local wizard, which kind of made me laugh a little bit. But it's a real thing. It's a real thing in a lot of these places. They call this guy out, and her mother takes the umbilical cord. She's got the umbilical cord for all her kids, and gives it to the guy, and he just takes it, does his wizard stuff, and says, like, your one son, the older son, is fine. Your other one, I can't see him. I don't know. And from there, it's pretty much like, he's dead. And
and then that helicopter thing, the other big issue of that too, that really bothers the Vietnamese, is when the Americans would do that, where they would just chuck those guys out of the helicopters and whatnot, like they can't find the bodies to them, and that's like the hardest part, because you don't have that reincarnation, you don't have any of that stuff if the body's like separated and they have no way to spiritually connect to them. So by literally chucking bodies out of like the helicopter, it doesn't seem like anything to an American, but to the Vietnamese, it's like that's one of the worst things you could possibly do, is not even give me the body back.
Yeah. It's like if your kid's abducted and you never know what happens to them. You know,
the kind of
same kind of idea, but more on a spiritual level. But I guess on both levels, the spiritual and personal level. But I guess that's, anyway, I could have made a dark joke, but I won't.
So sometimes you need a little bit of jokes to break the mood. This movie seems darker sometimes, I think, when you almost explain it than like when you watch it. It does flow
it's
back
not like
and
a
forth.
happy film, but yeah.
But it does kind of go from like, it could be like real dark moments to like, oh, it is kind of funny. Oh, it's really dark again. Oh, look, they're having a good time. Oh, it's like a roller coaster ride, as I would almost probably say.
I've been watching this show the past few days, and I'm about to finish it already on Hulu. It's called Mr. In Between. I don't know if you ever heard of it.
No, I don't think I have.
It's a fantastic show. I'm a little sad that there's only 3 seasons, but I'm also not upset, because sometimes a show doesn't need to be very long. You get your point across.
Yeah, they don't need a drag.
And it's about a criminal. I'll leave it at that for now, because I don't want to get too deep into it. But one of the episodes I just watched, he took care of a dude, more or less, who kidnapped a kid and hid her body, and it was the same kind of thing. That's what it made me think of. And the father, he's dying of cancer. He asked us, the main character, like, I'd love for you to find, be able to find her. I have the idea, you can do it. And there's that sense of closure, that he gets. And when you don't have that, just think, like, I could think of these parents in Vietnam that, their kids they're not coming back. And again, that personal and spiritual level, it's devastation. But,
they're not coming back, and they're missing in action. So you literally have no idea.
But yeah, she, so she suffers through that, gets raped and kicked out of, stinking her village, hometown. Goes to Saigon. Yeah. Her sister gets her and her mom a job at this, like,
well, they're like rich French Vietnamese people, like the kind of Vietnam people that really kind of became one with the French when they were in a colony. So they kind of have, in a sense, like a plantation, even though it's in the city, so it's not a plantation.
Yeah.
But like,
and they're Catholic.
But they have a lot of French, qualities going on with them, even though they're Vietnamese, and they're living kind of like, not like a castle or anything like that, but like a little mansion.
It's just a nice place.
With a bunch of like servants and so on like that,
Mm-hmm. And she, they're just working like they would. I mean, they're doing, like maid butler work and cleaning the place, doing chores, teaching and monitoring kids and blah, 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 this and that. Well, I don't think they're really teaching. I think they're just
like nannies almost. In a sense.
Yeah, pretty much. And sure as shit, she falls in love with the Lord. The Lord of the house, not Jesus the Lord, but
she never falls in love with the Lord. that comes across real well in this movie. She does the right thing,
and just like it almost seemed like instant too. Like she's just like enamored by this guy, and he is with her too. The problem is he's married to the lady of the house, and
but he's very French, you know what I mean? It's like he has that thing, like, you know what I mean? Like, you may be married, but you also got the mistress.
And she's like in her late teens, right? And if late teens, early 20s, something. I think she's in her late teens. And he sleeps with her. He just takes her to bed. Yeah. And they have a moment. It's kind of nice. And then, like, immediately, like, the one time she has sex, she's pregnant. And, of course, the lady of the house finds out about it. She's pissed. And her mom's like, at this point, too, like, there's been like a handful of things that her mom is just like all constantly like, you stupid little bitch, you stupid dumb idiot bitch, you little asshole idiot girl. You know, like, she's so demeaning.
Literally, Laylee's mom is more pissed than like the mistress of the house, or not mistress, but than the head madame, in a sense.
She is. She's more pissed because of what they have to lose. The madame, she's mad about it, but she's more of, I can't blame her, you know, for being mad.
Yeah, she's mad, but she's like, oh, I know my husband. I mean, it was bound to happen, I guess. She kind of
yeah.
She really makes that like that. Like, I'm not happy about it, but it's not the first time either. That's the worst thing.
And she's like, you're not staying here no more. So
yeah.
And the guy's like, I'm not gonna kick you out. Like, I'll get an apartment for you. And the lady's like, not in Saigon. I'm like, what? And then so he's like, I apparently he was going to be sending child support to her, but whether he did or did not, money never got to her, and it was pretty much because of that lady. So she ends up taking care of this baby, and through every means that she knows how, which is
hustling cigarettes.
The first thing I expected, to be honest, was prostitution, but I was really pleased to see, and I bet she didn't turn to it because of being raped. And you know, even if she wasn't, I still think that with her character, she probably wouldn't have turned to it. I think it was just an enforcement for her, a reinforcement for her to not. And but yeah, so like you said, she's selling cigarettes, she's selling anything, you know, that a U.S. soldier or anyone might want, but pretty much the soldiers. And she like knows a lot of these guys like on a first name basis. And like Big Mike is one of the guys. He sees her walking down the street with her box of shit, and he's like, hey, so she goes, oh, hey, Big Mike. He's like, you see these two guys over here, these two young guys, they're going home, right? And they really want some boom boom, is what they call sex. And she's like, oh no, I good girl, like, go find them over there. And he's like, they all got crabs and stuff.
It's like, I can't bring it home, you know what I mean? Like,
and I love what we're talking about. I love what he says too, and I'd be lying if I said I didn't hear dudes talking like this overseas. Like, well, they want some now because they're about to go home. And I'd be like, well, if they're about to go home, I don't think they need to worry about it, you know? And it's like
they treat it like it's a souvenir, like they want something to remember from Vietnam.
Yeah. It's like, can't be the fiery explosions, the Agent Orange, your friends dying right next to you. Okay. Because I can imagine if I was shell shocked in Nam, like I don't think I could have enough sex in my life while I'm there to forget everything else.
You're not forgetting that.
But yeah, and then so she also goes to see her mother goes back to the village, but her sister is kind of a prostitute, I guess. Her sister's definitely, because like these parts almost cut, because I almost want to say that other scene with like the two guys, because she does eventually take that money. That's like the one and only time that she goes for it, because he offers her like $200. She's like, no, I'm not going to take that. And he's like, come on, you got a baby. Here's $400, which $400, whatever year that was, like the late 60s, I think, or probably give or take, 69 or so. Oh man, but yeah, she was probably like, I can imagine, that she had. It was literally like over a year's salary for Vietnam. You know, so that was the why she did end up taking that one. Where on the other hand, her sister was just straight, regular whore, just at the whorehouse. 40 pesos. Yeah. Yeah, exactly. Surprised we didn't see Willem Dafoe just wheel on in. Tom Cruise in there. I serve my country. Penis. But she actually, there was a scene where her father actually shows up to where her and her sister are at, and right before her father shows up, this guy, I think his name's Paul, some GI who is just like super aggressive, total jerk. He's like, I'm gonna get my fuck on. Yeah, he's like, where's she at? And she's like, she's not here. Like, you have to come back. Like, and he's like, no, where is she? And then she sees her dad come in and she kind of hides. And I think a big reason was because of that whole thing about her bringing shame earlier to the village. And
now she has this kid, or she's pregnant at this point. She doesn't even have a kid. She's pregnant at this point, I think, in this scene.
And Paul, GI Paul, just like shoves her dad out the building, like, get out of here, old man. And then the sister shows up. She was entertaining some other guys. Well, her sister goes, Laylee goes, grabs her, and brings her back, says, like, Paul's here. And even she's like, oh, Paul, like, come on, like, come back later. And he's like, no. And just takes her into the room, and her dad's right there. Like,
yeah, no doors.
Right. And she's just like, I'll be right back, and like, let me close this door, which is just some beads.
Yeah, and there is no door. It's just like a sheet.
Yeah. And, they go at it, and then the dad's just sitting there waiting to talk to her. And she comes out, and he's like, oh, tell Laylee, like, that she doesn't need to worry about the shame. Tell her that I miss her. I want to see her, And she hears all of it, of course, from behind the corner. And the prostitute sister's like, what about me?
Like, look at you.
It's like,
you're just covered in shame. There's so much shame right there. I don't think you're ever going to get that washed off.
No. Yeah. And but yeah, and then it wasn't very long after that's when Tommy Lee Jones comes into the play. And at this point, she doesn't think anything of him. Why would she? He looks like every other GI out there.
Yeah.
She's rolling by on her little motor scooter, and a friend of hers, I don't even know who. I think it's just a random character they don't really ever introduce.
Yeah, I don't know if it's a friend or it's some other sisters. I don't know. Yeah, they're like a one and done moment.
Yeah. She waves her over, and she's like, oh, he wants to meet you. And she's like, no. And he's like, oh, like, please, like, talk to me. And she's like, and she's like, he already paid. And so she's like, she right then and there, like, I guess, yeah, he already gave her the money and whatever. And then Laylee's just like, see ya, and books it down. And the woman takes off with the money. She takes off on a moped. Tommy Lee Jones is chasing after her. It's kind of a hilarious scene I thought. But he ends up catching her. And he's like a super nice guy. He's a super nice guy, but it's also kind of weird that he's so, if it wasn't for the fact that he spent the money, I guess. But
he's like way too like peer pressure-y. Like, one, he's like twice her age. Two, he's like twice her height. Three,
twice her height.
He's not even like leaving. He's just literally like creeping. Like, it's like one of those ones. He's asking to get a restraining order.
It's pretty stalkerish,
Yeah.
I thought that was weird. I had mixed feelings about that, but
it's weird because like they sort of play it off like it's not like that, but that's sort of how it sort of feels too. They're not selling it to you like he's very stalkery. They're just saying it like almost like old school American, like he's just persistent. That's all he is. You know what I mean? Like, that's what you gotta do to get the gals. But
you gotta just stay in their house until they just give in.
Yeah, put their rice hat on. Try to fit in. Try to look like you're part of the scenery there. And then next thing you know, they'll finally go for you.
And it wasn't until he stayed there forever until she came back, and it wasn't until he's like, wow, your son, what a great looking guy in the picture. She's like, okay, like, I wasn't very nice to you. I'm sorry. Let's talk. And they talk for a minute. She lets him sleep there, and she comforts him because he has a nightmare during the thunderstorm, and blah blah blah, and the rest is history. At that point, between them, they fall in love as much as GI and a Vietnamese woman could fall in love during the Vietnam War. She takes him back to the village, introduces him to her mother. I think her father. No, I don't think they met. I think the father only met the son, and then he died. He drank acid. Drank acid because he got beat. She went back to see her father. Actually, she didn't even go back with the kid. Somebody else must have been taking care of him. She went back by herself, sees her dad. She first sees her mom, and she's like, where's dad? And she's like, probably a stupid girl. But no, she's just like, oh, your father. At first, I thought she was gonna say like, oh, your father, he's dead, you know. But no, she's just so solemn and grim about it. She's like, yeah, he, you know, they beat him. They thought he was. They were gonna execute her. Her mom was gonna get executed because the Viet Cong lined everyone up in the village and was saying that people were traitors and this and that again. And I guess it was like her uncle or something that was like, you really gonna kill this poor woman, you know, like blah blah blah. And instead, I guess they just beat the crap out of her dad. And and then so he's there in poor health, beaten, and that's kind of the last thing. She finally came back and just gave her well wishers and stuff. And then shortly after, he died after drinking acid, probably to put himself out of his misery. But I can't imagine that wasn't also miserable.
No, the acid thing, probably didn't feel good.
God. And then so later on when she is with Steve, the
old Scuba Steve,
goes back, sees the mom, and her mom too is like, you're gonna be miserable.
Yeah. So that, you know, the mom will give like sometimes good advice, but then that mom also like will just be like, yeah, it's gonna suck, you know.
Yeah.
Which she's not lying. She's not lying. At first it doesn't seem like it, but
yeah, like
because at first it seems like Steve's doing everything. He's protecting her. He's gonna get her out of America or get her out of Vietnam. He's gonna do all this great stuff for her. He's a good war soldier and whatnot.
I love the they're like, there's some bombs, explosions, whatever's going on, like shit's hitting the fan where they're at. So Steve comes down, there's a helicopter, Steve's on it, he gets down, gives her this piece of cardboard with like his information on it, and it says like, this is my I am responsible for these people, please show them to wherever I'm going if I am not with them, whatever. Like, and I'm thinking like, what kind of crap evidence is that? Like,
yeah, take this to the embassy.
And of course, like, they just drop her off not where he said that they were going to drop her off at, just some random spot on the road, and they're separated. I thought maybe Steve was going to die. But no, he shows right back up, and they end up getting the hell out of there. He takes her and the two kids to the U.S.
San Diego.
Changes the kids' names.
Yeah, changes them up. You know, at the same time, like, he does take the son that's not his. You know, so that's kind of it. And I will say that I learned this kind of later on, but in like the real Laylee or whatever, apparently that's like a fusion of two husbands she has, is what that Steve guy is, the Tommy Lee Jones character.
Oh, okay.
So she had two. So one husband was an older guy who was like a military contractor type guy, and that was the one there, I want to say. And then she had a second husband that was also a military guy, and each one kind of fused together to create this full character here of Tommy Lee Jones's. Yeah,
that makes sense. Yeah, and he's just a total nutcase. At first, things seem okay, right? You know, like she gets there, completely different environment. You know, going from some jungle village in Vietnam to San Diego suburbs, and just like I said, this is where my wife even was saying like, yeah, I know what that's like, you know, like just a lot of the different things. And I'm thinking like, yeah, that was me, man. When I brought her, I didn't bring her. When I picked her up at the airport, like as soon as I picked her up from the airport, all I was thinking about was like, even like driving in my Corolla, I'm like, yeah, this is that. If you want to change the music, you can change this and that. It's not like she's never seen that before. It's just a car. But I mean, like everything. I wanted to show her everything that I knew she'd never seen before. And I stress this so much because I don't want people to think like she's from a fucking cave. But I mean, like, it's just
you came in like on a helicopter, gave her a piece of cardboard and said, go to the embassy with this.
Exactly. But no, it's like I just wanted to again, like Shore Walmart, get her a double from In-N-Out. You know, like these things that you know they never had before. And I could see it in her eyes, you know, like everything's like, wow, okay, that's what that is. That's what that's like. You know, this is what I remember seeing. This was like in a TV show or in a movie. You know, oh, this really isn't like that. No, it's not. She never seen a school bus before. She's seen plenty of city buses, but a yellow school bus, never seen one. So
probably almost doesn't seem real, kind of almost like those, like, the double-decker British buses. It's like, is that a real thing or is it not?
Exactly. So again, very authentic. All her son did such a great job with that, and I guess she did too because she was there with them.
Well, especially because he used a lot of those, like, wide-angle, like, fish lenses and stuff like that.
Yeah.
That give this, like, everything looks extremely large. Like, there's a part where they slowly open up the refrigerator and how much food is just jammed in there and on like that. Just unheard of.
Which is hard to believe, consider the person that's eating it. But,
yeah, exactly. Well, that's, like, the funny thing, too, is because this is the thing is like, okay, you got Steve, and he seems like he's a guy who's got all things together. Everything's gonna be great. But then you realize he's kind of a deadbeat, and he just lives with his mom and his fucking sister, and his mom's Debbie Reynolds, and then Conchata Farrell, who I always think of 2.5 Men, speaking of Charlie Sheen, is the sister. And yeah, he literally is just, he's got nothing going for him. Like, almost like one of those ones, like, if he didn't go to the military, like, he has nothing. He has nothing to show. That's all he ever had. Yeah, the old beater car. He's got no money. He literally kind of lied to her.
He pays. He did, and he pays. Child support, probably alimony to his ex-wife, and their kids. So like, he's so screwed. And he did, like, they again, initially it's like, oh wow, like, we have this home for the moment. We're going to get out of here and move somewhere else. He tells her that he's got this civilian job lined up and blah, blah, blah. And slowly things start coming out, and she's like, what is going on here? Like, aside from the culture shock that she's having from how different everything is, it's I know she was looking at how there's a scene specifically that is perfect. It's so perfect, even to this day. The waste. So she's cleaning the dishes, and there's all this food left over on the plate, and it shows her face. It's kind of in disgust as it's getting put into the trash can, and
disposal or whatever too.
Dude, what?
Yeah.
Because in most other cultures, it's like the waste is like taboo, and for good reason. I mean, like, people go hungry and die because they can't get their hands on this stuff. Meanwhile, you got people that are just like, I'm done.
I don't like the taste of it, yeah. Well, that's to me. I have that problem too with, like, my entire life, that I always hate the idea of any form of waste. That I will literally eat myself till I'm sick, and I've done it multiple times because I hate the idea of throwing anything out, and then I'll eat too much and then get to that issue because I didn't want to see it get tossed away. You're like, oh, that was a bad idea.
For me, it's two reasons. Exactly what you just said, and not a great reason. It's kind of selfish, but also I don't like wasting money. So
yeah, there's that too. Well, there's that thing. It's like, I paid for it. I better finish this,
Oh, did I accidentally buy a second beer? But
that's what Steve was saying right there. He wasn't wasting beers.
Holy crap! And he has a few scenes that are, like, super cool. Like, they're having Thanksgiving dinner. It's obviously Lei Lee and her two Asian Vietnamese sons' first Thanksgiving, and the sister-in-law is just, like, slamming food and, oh, have some more. Be thankful for what you got. You've only eaten rice and fish,
Yeah.
And Steve's like, she doesn't need to be that thankful. She doesn't need to eat anymore. It basically lays into her about how privileged that she is, and that she knows she's privileged for now being in the U.S. She knows where she came from, and just really sticks up for her. And it was a pretty awesome scene. And he also sticks up for her when one of his buddies is, like, just going back and forth about, like, he won't let up about, oh, you got yourself an Oriental, huh? Yeah, they're fantastic. And he's like, she's a good woman. And he's like, yeah, I mean, sure, yeah. And he's like, they're loyal as hell, or she's loyal as hell, and just going to bat for her. But then, yeah, after those couple scenes, that kind of just all goes away, because that's when she asks him, like, what is this civilian job you have? And he's like, all right, between me and you, it's so silly. It's so like it's so slimy. Like I'm gonna be just selling rockets and guns, and she's like, what? And
well, he like pours out like a bag that looks like he just went down to the pawn shop and grabbed a handful of guns. Like it's not like I'm gonna sell these to the troops. It's just like a bunch of old like revolvers and some beat up rifles and whatnot. You're like, he's like, yeah, don't worry, I could sell them for double what they're worth. Well, I paid for them.
That was even later.
Was that later? Okay, yeah.
And I think that was because they were having money problems. This is right when they go to bed, and it's like they're having a nice time, like I guess. But that's when she asks him like what the civilian job is, and he's like, yeah, I'm going to be working for the CIA. Like just selling, arms dealing, and she like loses her mind because she's like, my family, like my country is destroyed by this, and this is what you're gonna do, and he's like, I mean, yeah, and she's like super upset, and she's like, you lied to me, and he's like, I didn't lie to you, and like he flops over to the other side like a pouting child of the bed, and he's like, I didn't completely lie, but that's exactly what I thought too. Like I'm like, this dude's a piece of crap. Like he like totally gave the song and dance so she'd come to America with him, and then he's gonna be a total just like Bill Dauterive.
Yeah, he's like the super loser. And then the fact too, it's like, what she is. That she's a Vietnamese, that she's a Buddhist and all this kind of stuff. And then like it seems like you're cool with that when you're in Vietnam. The second though you're in America, you're trying to convert them on over. And that's same with the family and everything like that. Because there is those scenes, and there's even more of them like in the deleted stuff where like they really try to be like, oh, you don't need that Buddhist statue in here. You got to get a good picture of Jesus right there. That's what you need. And it's just like one of those ones, like that kind of stuff is like.
And she's so cool, man. Like she's super proactive. She wants to earn for the household because she's like, I don't want to live with your mom no more and your fat ass sister. Like I want to leave. We go start our life, And she wants to start her own business, start doing this and that. And he's like, no, I'll take care of it. But it's like he can't even take care of himself. So
no, yeah, he just keeps buying guns and alcohol.
Yeah, so she just does it behind his back because somebody's got to do something, right? And so she's out there earning, she's starting stuff up, trying to
literally hustling.
Yeah, and when she tells him, loses his mind. He's pissed. You lie about everything, and finds letters that are to her first son's dad, the Lord guy, and the funny thing is he can't read it, so he's like, what are you signing to him? And she tells him. Then he's like, liar, like, well, look, dude, like you got to either take a word for it or not. Like, if you can't read it,
you're sending money to your like ex-wife's kids, like
exactly. And she's not even sending anything. Like she's just telling him how the kid is.
Yeah, that's all the guy wants to know. He just wants to know how the kid's doing.
Yeah, and then he starts taking the guns out of the cabinet and decides, I can get a couple grand for this. Yeah. And he's super wasted. Calling her a gook and shit.
Yeah,
like just the total opposite of the guy that he was when he met her, And they get into a big fight. He puts a gun to her head, and then she's like, Steve, Steve. She, I think, I loved you once. I think I loved you once, and then he, I think that's when he puts a gun to her head, and then he takes it away. He starts crying and shit. He's like, man, the Marine Corps is doing this to me. They're going to kick me out. And talking about all the bad shit that he's done in the Marines and all this and that, blah, blah, blah. And then he puts the gun to his head. I thought he was going to blow his head off right there. And I can't tell if he just chose not to do it or if she was able to stop him. But he didn't die. And they kind of reconcile for a moment. But that same old crap keeps happening. She's going through more and more. Just more fights. There's a deleted scene that comes like after that one there where she goes to talk to like you only see him briefly in the regular movie, but there's the pastor dude or whatever you want to say at the church. Yeah, she goes to talk to that guy for a moment, and she brings up that like Steve's getting real angry and violent. He literally put a gun to the back of my head. And the pastor's like, well, Steve probably didn't mean that, And maybe here's the thing. You sound like you're so anti-gun,
we're in America here. Maybe you should go shooting with him and understand what this is all about. It's like, what the hell is? Did you not hear that he just put a gun to your head? Like, I'm like, that's like one of those ones. Like, there's your '70s like Catholic preacher like trying to like. Does he even have a license? This guy shouldn't be allowed to talk to people.
Yeah. No shit.
She's giving terrible advice, and then there's like another scene that follows up where she goes, "Okay, whatever, I'm going to the Buddhist guy instead." You know, and the Buddhist guy gives like a long speech of like, how like, gosh, your karma, all this kind of stuff, And the thing that like, even though Steve's a bad guy, you almost have to like him in a weird way because that's how the thing is. You like your enemy.
Yeah. You're absolutely right. And he was telling her like that they're kind of intertwined, and both together with their like they have needed each other throughout different lifetimes. Him and her and him both. Whatever. It's kind of complicated, but not. But yeah. So she what was it? Yeah. If I was in that position, well, I don't want to say if I was Steve, but if I was a dude who, I don't have to say like if we were in a terrible relationship or whatever, marriage or whatever, but if I married somebody who was in a war-torn country and they like, you wouldn't have to tell me that they're probably not comfortable around, 50 guns, like it's like, dude, like, it doesn't mean like I will never have one or whatever. Like, but I mean, I don't know, put it like somewhere hidden away where it's like gone out of sight, out of mind from her. Like, but it's so understandable that like this person's been freaking tortured and her friends and family and half the people she knows have been blown to bits. Like,
yeah.
And
maybe don't have the guns, do that like somewhere else. Get an office or a warehouse.
And not only for, Steve to kind of disregard that, but like you said, the pastor, it's just like, yeah, go, why don't you go shooting? It's like, do you realize what you're asking?
Yeah, it's just like, yeah, it's one of those just so goofy, these people.
Goofy. And, but yeah, things don't change. And Steve just, she gets a lawyer, calls for a divorce, and they're separated and everything. And, but it doesn't mean much because he just comes in the house one day and busts open and grabs two of her kids and goes to put them in the van, says that they're going to church, and because it's Sunday, and he's clearly like not in his right mind, if he even has a right mind. And she's like, she realizes she can't stop him, so she grabs her other son and says, we're going to church too. And he's like, no, but he can't stop her, and they get in the van, and I kind of doubt that was his plan originally, to go to church first. But yeah, basically he just after church, he got out of there real quick, and before she could catch up to him, and just took off. And she goes back home, kind of distraught. He calls her from a payphone and says, like, you're going to cancel all this. You're going to call that lawyer and call off the divorce and all this, or you'll never see your kids again. And so, of course, she's trying to talk to him, like, just come back and we'll talk about it. And
well, she even tries to like cave in because she goes like, I'll go to church. I'll do the American thing.
Yeah.
I'll be nice to your mother, all that kind of stuff.
I'll waste your food.
Yeah. I'll throw it down the garbage disposal. I'll flip the switch and everything.
And then that's when that Buddhist, the Buddhist guy comes in and talks to her about it. And so she oh no, she didn't call him. So a friend of his married her sister. So she calls him and says, like, talk to him about whatever. And she said, like, is Steve there now? And she goes, yeah. She goes, let me talk to him. So she puts him on the phone and she tells him, like, please come home. Like, I'll change and all this. And Steve has another crybaby moment. And,
yeah.
And pretty much she finds out where they are. She goes, but Steve killed himself
in the van.
I never thought I'd see. I never wanted to see, but it was interesting being able to see Tommy Lee Jones butt naked. in his van. Luckily, we only got the side profile.
I guess I kid you not. The first time I saw this movie, that was like the biggest like question I had leaving this. I was like, why was he naked when he was in that van? Like, that was the thing. I was like, what was that about? Like, you know, what was that like? The whole reason there? It's like, you know, I didn't want to get anything of my clothes, you know, all that kind of stuff. Oliver Stone said in the commentary that what that was supposed to symbolize is that that was his way of almost trying to be more like the tribe being a Buddhist, because you're born naked, you die naked. And sorry, he just read the text in a goofy way before suicide, so I don't know, but
Interesting. Very interesting.
I'm going to try this Buddha thing. So you put a gun in your mouth and pull the trigger, but you got to be naked first. You know, it's like, oh, Steve, I really don't think you got that at all.
I don't want to know really what would go through the person's mind doing that, because it's got to be terrible, right? It's got to be miserable. But
yeah,
there's a percent of a percent that wants to know, like, why did you do this? Why, like, not why'd you kill yourself? Don't care. Why are you naked?
Exactly.
Like,
well, because there's always that thing you got to think about when you do suicide is like, wait a second, what are people going to find? You know what I mean? Like, what are they going to have to clean up? That thing too, you know.
But
you do this in an efficient manner.
But she perseveres though, and you know, of course, even though they were separated and it was far from a happy marriage, I mean, it's still one of those things, like the father of two of her children, you know, just former lover. It's a big deal to see that person with their head blown off and they're butt naked in their car. So, you know, that's something to struggle through. And then, you know, she goes back home. One of the other things too that was messed up was, like, she talked about her kids, like, even not like disowning her or anything like that, but like kind of ignoring her a bit, kind of putting her off, and refusing to talk Vietnamese or speak Vietnamese, and were almost ashamed of being Vietnamese. And like at school, they would tell kids that they were Mexican. I was like, geez, man, like that's only got to be like, how many punches in the gut can you get? And
well, I kind of thought about that with that line that you don't think about, but you're like, God, if you had to go to school as a Vietnamese kid in like the 70s, like that had to have been so bad.
Any
so
Asian
bad.
probably.
Yeah, because you know that like every like guy's gonna just be like, you know, say every racial slur known to mankind to you.
Every racial slur, probably, you know, like, of course you got all the bullies that are probably like, yeah, we're killing your fucking cousins. Or who fucking knows?
Or
know,
those dick ones be like, hey, it's your people that killed my dad or my uncle or whatever, you know. So it would be coming from all sorts of angles. You just, you know, be so terrible. Yeah.
Oh yeah.
So I guess being like, you know, just saying you're Mexican is fine, because let's be honest, those same guys that were gonna say shit, they'd be like, oh, that seems right. They're too dumb to question that you're something else.
Yeah, exactly. That's hilarious. But yeah, and but she perseveres through all that, and continues with her businesses and stuff, and like owns different properties, and like
becomes really successful,
super successful, and such an awesome turnaround. It's kind of like, you know, it's kind of like, gosh,
which one are you thinking of?
Freaking Born on the 4th of July, Ron Kovic. It's just like Ron Kovic, you know, and you know, he probably wasn't quite as successful as her, but pretty successful. You know, he made some super big strides and accomplishments, and
he did all kinds of big speeches. He wrote books, you know, all that kind of stuff. And that's the same thing with Lei Lee. She wrote books, you know, she had all kinds of businesses, and in a weird way, even though she had to go through so much turmoil and so on like that, in the long run, it really actually worked out for her. You know, she had to go through, you know, all the trials and tribulations.
Yeah.
But at the end of the day, like, she could have just gave up. She could have caved in. She could have done nothing. But she strived forward and she made success.
Yeah. Yeah. And she goes back home, takes her kids with her, introduces her oldest son to the dad, who now is like a poor dude. He's just like a common guy.
The wife kicked him out probably, and now he's working the fish market.
But yeah, let me see here.
Well, because there is that scene though, like that they don't even say anything, but like that kid and like the dad see each other, and they just got that like emotional reaction, like It's like too bad. Like the kid's probably like, I thought that dad was gonna be loaded by the time I found him, and here he is.
I was looking for. I can't remember. There was a quote about the heaven and earth. Like she literally, it's like one of the last lines in the film. She talks about being between heaven and earth, it's something about her village is like the spot that they consider between heaven and earth or something. I don't quite remember, but if whoever decides to watch it, they'll find out, and it's a perfect ending. And I mean, from then on, all the rest of her life was she was involved in activism. She helped create better relations between the U.S. and Vietnam.
Yep.
A lot of cool stuff. But yeah, overall, man, it's an awesome movie in so many different ways. Like I said, it's only if you put a gun to my head that I'm really going to say this is my favorite film. I love all three films in this trilogy. They all they're all like their own key to a piece of it's like a Resident Evil puzzle. You need the blue one, the yellow one, what I mean?
They all come together to create the full, impact of like, the Vietnam era of 65 to 75.
But I can't imagine this trilogy without Heaven and Earth. I could imagine it without Platoon. I could imagine it without some of the parts of Born on the 4th of July. But I love the fact, and probably because you don't see it very often, is the Vietnamese side of it.
Well, it kind of reminds me a lot like, in later days when Clint Eastwood did the two World War II ones, where he did Flags of Our Fathers, and then he did there was the Japanese one that he did. So he did it like one was like an American side, and then one was from the Japanese side. I'm trying to blank on the Japanese one right now. I know I own it too, but that's what this kind of reminds me a lot of. And
Letters from Iwo Jima.
Yes, that one right there. So those two kind of go hand to hand together and whatnot. And even in this movie, we kind of forgot there is one kind of like major scene towards the very end where she goes back to her village. She brings her kids and everything like that.
Yes.
It almost feels like maybe it's like late 70s, 80s by this point, because the kids are kind of like 15 years old or so, or some of them are. And she goes there. Her mom's still there. She's just older and so on like that.
Her mom's like finally happy with her.
Yeah, finally, after all these years and so on like that. Maybe she chewed enough like beetle nuts or whatever that like makes her teeth turn black.
They were black, and she was in the first scene of the movie.
Yeah, well, I had to look up what that was. I'm like, what is that from? I know it's got to be something that like they eat, but it's like these like nuts that they chew while they're working and whatnot. And I think it's kind of like a like having like chewing tobacco in a sense for like Vietnam.
I'm not gonna lie, I thought her teeth were just rotten. That's what I accepted.
Yeah, so they get stained from like these these nuts that are like the Asian equivalent of chewing tobacco.
Huh, interesting.
And it kind of just gives you a little bit of caffeine. I don't know, chew some nuts. For some reason, it's a weird one. Like in like America, mostly you don't see women chewing tobacco. It's mostly a guy thing or whatnot. Seems like in Vietnam, it's the other way around. Like, no, that's what the women do.
Midwest.
Got their spit can out there and everything.
I've seen a few women here that got a big old chaw in their mouth. That's what they say.
Spit one out.
Got a big old chaw. I'm like, chaw? What the fuck is a chaw? Yeah.
But there's also that scene where one of her brothers comes back and he has like that long monologue that he goes off of.
That's another one. Is he's not happy, and it's almost like he don't even care that she's there and living in the U.S. and having a great life, because he's like he goes on about how the war with the U.S. and the North and whatnot like destroyed everything they knew. And he's like, how can I be happy for you? Like you're over there living with the enemy, and
it's almost like she turned on them because she's not here helping them out.
Yeah, it's very parallel. It's almost like the polar opposite of what a lot of Americans feel like when you think about our wartime enemies. Like I don't know, maybe a World War II veteran, as soon as they got home from war, and they get a letter from their niece that's living in Germany, and I mean, why? Who knows? That would be. But he'd be like, "What are
Yeah.
you doing sleeping with the enemy?" You know, like, and it's the same thing here. I mean, you know, there's so much racial tension and so many so many stereotypes that are built off of war and all that. That it very much made me think of dudes that would be like, why would you be with that raghead? Why would you be with that, you know, whoever, you know? And it's I like that he's showing that it's from all ends of the spectrum, you know?
Yep. Yeah, there's always somebody that's going to be kind of pissed off about that. I remember, like, when I was a kid, there was this trip that, like, my grandma took us to like, Hawaii and whatnot. We went to Oahu. I remember my grandpa didn't go. I didn't think much of it at the time, like, World War II. Why would you go back to Hawaii? You're in the Navy. It's like, nope, don't need to see that again.
Yeah. Yeah, I didn't think about that.
Yeah. Granted, his ship was one of the boats that was not there at Pearl Harbor. But,
Okay.
You know, but still, I just think about that. Like, it's probably one of the places like, no, you know, I don't need to go Hawaii. That's half Japan. I don't need to be there.
Yeah, man. Definitely a good flick. I couldn't recommend this movie enough. And not only because I think it's a great movie, but I think it's just like how I said that my wife and I both agreed that this is a film that people need to watch, especially the youth. And like, it's the kind of film they should show in schools. It's the kind of film that people should see, so that, you know, once again, like, I don't want to stand up on a soapbox, and but I mean, it really is a great case of, like, people who live in shit can go through it, and they make it out alive. Like, for a lot of people today here that are like, you know, like, I am suffering and I am oppressed because I don't know, they got to pay their student loan off.
Yeah, they're not getting free, you know, income or anything like that. Yeah.
But yeah, no, it's a fantastic film. I don't know what else to say about it, man. It's just it's a gem for sure.
It really is. And the bummer thing is once again, is because it is kind of the hidden gem movie, because it's sort of a forgotten one.
And
sadly. It's not like Schindler's List, where Schindler's List is brought up all the time. Don't get me wrong, Schindler's List is a good movie too. But the fact is this movie's not brought up all the time. In fact, it's like, it's kind of hidden. You got to really go out of your way. Even when you look for this movie, like when I was you type it on like Wikipedia, it does not even appear on there right off the bat. You have to be very specific what you're looking for. I mean, of course, there's another Heaven and Earth movie from Japan in like 90, and there's like a book, and there's a handful of other things that have that title, of course. But the fact is like, if you even type in just like Heaven and Earth movie, it's like, it's still like way down there. Like, I had to manually search for it in there. So it just goes to show that they're not giving it a whole lot. You know, even like the Wikipedia page doesn't have a whole lot written about it. That mostly always tells you something. It's like how much is written about it tells you how much people really like dig it and so on.
And it's crazy.
And it's just weird because it's just such a, I hate to sort of say it, but it is that, once again, I think it's that weird thing that like people kind of look at it and go, I think especially like Americans, it's like the average audience, your mom and pop in Oklahoma, that's probably gonna look and go, it looks like a foreign movie with subtitles. It stars a girl. I don't know. Tommy Lee Jones is in it. Yeah, he doesn't show up till 3/4 of the movie. I don't know. You know, yeah. Because even at this point, Tommy Lee Jones is like, he is a big actor, but I don't feel like he's one that's like necessarily like, oh yeah, he's gonna draw in the audience yet.
I think Men in Black was like right after.
It's 97, so it's a handful of years later. The Fugitive would be the big one with him and Harrison Ford. You know, which I think is actually 93 as well, or 94. So I guess he is kind of coming there. There's also Under Siege, where he's in it, where he plays pretty much like a terrorist. It looks like,
I love his character in that movie.
It's so good.
So ridiculous.
Yeah, but yeah, I think it's just one of those movies. It was just a hard sell. But really, once again, when we looked at the box office, I think that tells us a lot of like how it sort of got pushed underneath. You know, there was just one. If you just watch Schindler's List, it's kind of hard to be like, hey, come to the theaters a couple weeks later and come see another disaster. You know what I mean?
But yeah, no, man.
You know, and then the fact that you're like, hey, you know, honey, what do you want to go see? We go see Heaven and Earth, or go see Tombstone. That right there, I think, is the one that probably gets it more than anything else. You know, that Christmas was just stacked with films. So,
just like today.
Yeah.
No. Quite the stark difference.
Yeah, exactly. So, but yeah, I think it's a movie though that, you know, Needs to be talked about, needs to be watched, needs to be passed along, especially if you watch Platoon and then even Born on the 4th of July, which I do feel like Platoon's the one that seems to be really remembered. And then even Born on the 4th of July is kind of it's a little bit of an oddity movie. I know it won some awards and so on like that, and people look at it like it's Tom Cruise's one of his best roles.
Yeah.
But even that one too, I feel like, people need to pull that one out of like the closet and just take a look at it, because it kind of got lost as well too in the shuffle.
Yeah. Hey, they're all good, man. I recommend all 3 of them any day of the week.
Yeah, exactly. It's just really it's a solid trilogy all around, and like gives you almost like the very good view of the Vietnam War, literally in 3 movies. You get the full spectrum and all kinds of stuff. If you'd like to know more, all you gotta do is keep reading, and go find some other things there. But yeah, you can see why also once you're kind of done with something like this and you go through all that, they're like, you know what I'm doing next? This Tarantino script that came across my desk. And we're going to go have some fun with this. We're going to really shoot it weird. We're going to make it violent. We're going to, just have fun with it. We got Rodney Dangerfield showing up.
God.
Because, yeah, it's such a weird one. When you look at those movies back to back, they're like, yeah, that's how it went. It went from, like, Heaven and Hell, or Heaven and Earth, to Natural Born Killers.
That is so hilarious. It really is.
It's such a drastic change, And I think like before that's like, JFK.
Yep. No, that's,
which I was kind of thinking about like realistically all of Oliver Stone's movies for the most part, like a good 80% of them seem to all be that like 60s to like 70s, like give or take Vietnam era type stuff. Because even if they're not like Vietnam centric, there's a lot of Vietnam adjacent ones. Like he has a Nixon movie, and you could almost say JFK. That's sort of like right before Vietnam, going into that, and so many other movies that kind of butt in slightly there, and so on. But yeah, so yeah, Heaven and Earth. Check this bad boy out. Nothing but just a fantastic epic story that's all based on real stuff. So if you want to see some real history, there you go. There it is.
Hard hitting.
Yeah, and I think it's one of those ones I would say it's one of Oliver Stone's best made movies out there. It's not the one you're going to throw on like all the time. This is only my second time watching it, but oddly, if only seeing it twice, it's amazing how much it sticks with me though too.
Yeah, no, for sure.
But beyond all that, you can check out more Old Man Orange podcast, movie reviews, all that good stuff, along with Silent Evil podcast and via VHS. Find those all at Spotify and YouTube. Till then, I'm Spencer Scott Holmes.
And I'm Dave Candido.
And we'll see you some other time.